Bonjour, y'all. Let's see. Why does it seem so dark? A little warm today. Got Miss Freya in the background. Oh, she's getting down. If anybody happens to be in the chat, can just say hello or just confirm. There's somebody. Salut. Howdy, howdy. Hope everyone's doing well. All right, Lisa. Well, thank you so much for joining. Get this. Hopefully cools off here shortly. But in any case, I'm excited. Next week I get to pick up my residency card. So that'll finally, I have my extension paperwork for the attestation and all that sort of thing for my visa, but this will make me streak legal. So hello, Sue. Thanks so much. And again, hopefully everybody's staying relatively cool. All right, Deborah, appreciate that. Now, I figured I would talk today about my background, or if, unless anybody has questions. 2 hours up 85 in South Carolina. All right, Rose. Well, thank you for joining. I know I think I'm a little early. Yeah, a little early. So we'll give people a couple of minutes to get in here. We got the air conditioning going, but it's taking a little bit of time to get caught up in this room. I had the window open in the back there. Obviously, Sunday it's pretty quiet here, but not tonight. Apparently, everybody's decided to go driving around the back street there. So, but that's all right. You know, the air conditioning will cover this here just fine. Anyway, I figured just start off with if anybody has any questions they want to ask before I get started on just jabbering on about my background. Well, it looks like it's 9 o'clock now. So, all right. Well, hopefully everybody gets a chance to hit the like button too. Appreciate that as well. And let's see here. I think that's it. Hello, Ty. Hello, Patricia. Thanks so much for y'all joining in. Going to try to get Miss Freya up here again. Oh, here she comes back in. Maybe she'll be jumping up. Bonjour, Janet. Hello, Natalia. Rose, let's see. Oh, let me see if I can I highlight this? Oh, I don't know if that actually. So Rose has asked the question, when you say there are lots of kids on the bus, college-age teens who our son is coming to university there and we're retiring there. The bus line actually, my house is very close to the bus line number 1. And it turns out, because they change the schedule twice a year. It's essentially during the school year and then during the summer. So like now they just changed it on July 5th, and that'll hold through the end of August. And then starting September 1st through July 4th will be the other schedule. The Line 1 bus actually had fewer buses for July and August than what it did normally. So clearly my bus line is geared mostly toward school kids. And the most that I've seen, because I have there's a very large complex behind my house that has a college campus, small college campus, and a large, I want to say it's a high school, middle school, and then right behind my house is a what do they call it? It's like a nursery, daycare, I guess, sort of thing. Very young kids that are there. And so the age range is very, I mean, obviously the very young kids don't ride the bus, but by themselves. But I'd say it's probably maybe low teens, something like that is where they're mostly on the bus, and then through college kids. And the Ride My Line anyway. And the B Line's another one that's nearby. Oh, Miss Freya's going after her little bird. But it's, it's just fascinating to me that it's the first time I've lived somewhere where they didn't have school buses. The buses they use are actually the public transportation buses. So during the school year, the buses tend to be very busy kind of throughout the day, obviously during the week. And, but especially like around, I think it's around like 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of busy throughout the day, but not too bad. Lunchtime gets a little busier. And then like 5:30, they're jammed, absolutely jammed with kids. So it's it's a bit of a challenge, but it's, certainly doable. I was kind of hoping that they'd run the buses a little later during the summer, but they don't. And now instead of my bus coming every maybe 15, 20 minutes, it's now every 30 minutes. So it's just not great. not great. So in any case, but that's about the kids. Let's see. John Worley. Bonjour, Jeff. Bonjour, John. Could you talk a little bit about your process to get a long-term visa from the USA? Was it fairly straightforward for you, showing income, et cetera? My process was pretty simple. I know that there are companies out there that will help you, for a fee, help you with the process and kind of hold your hands through the process. I didn't find it to be all that difficult. It was, it's tedious, but it's not hard. And so everything's online, and it'll tell you specifically what you need to have. But if you have, like, I have a pension income, not much, but it's a pension income, and then I have savings, and so that's, I should say not much, but it's average, and so it's, but that was enough for me to get my long-term visitor visa to come here. And but the process I did all myself. It was not, it really wasn't that complicated. And once you do it online and submit the paperwork and submit everything in, then you can schedule the appointment with the company that handles the paper intake. And so all they're going to do at that appointment is just take the documents that you have really already uploaded, but they're going to take the actual documents and your passport and submit that over. They'll transfer that over to the French embassy in Washington, D.C. And those folks will make the decision whether or not you'll get the visa, and they don't tell you until you get your passport back. So either you've got a passport with a long stay visitor visa, or you don't. You just get your passport back with a decline message on it. So it's a little arcane that it's, I mean, you'd think they'd at least tell you whether or not they, I'm assuming if they needed something that they would ask you for it. I didn't have any issue with that. It just, just submitted the paperwork. There are, like I said, there are companies that will help. I would think that if you were trying to do something like an entrepreneurial visa or a profession liberale, or trying to get a work visa, that would certainly, I would recommend somebody help you with that process. But as far as just doing the long stay visitor visa, it's really not hard to do on your own. I hope that answers your question. Hello, Josephine. Hello, Aiko. Let's see. Greg's asking, what kind of work did you do when you were contracting on NASA projects and later in your career? Okay. Well, I graduated from college in 1985, and I know 100 years ago. I technically ended in 1984, but went through the graduation process in 1985. I had plenty of credit, so I stopped at that point. I had a job lined up already with a company out of Melbourne, Florida, and working on a NASA project. So I moved from Illinois down to Florida. I had an opportunity to interview with Microsoft in 1984, hindsight being 2020, I probably should have done that. But at the time, I just thought Seattle. It's like, oh, I don't want to, Seattle versus Florida. I think I'll take the sunshine. And of course, if I'd lived the entire time going through that Microsoft ordeal at the time when they were doing Microsoft Windows and coming out with Word and Excel and all that, I'd probably be a multimillionaire now. But I'm not unhappy with the way it went. But the project I went on to at NASA was it was a space station mission assessment contract. And so this was obviously in the early mid 80s. And we were just coming up with a prototype, a simulation as to would it be better to build the space station in smaller pieces and do more shuttle missions to space in order to build it, or actually that'd be fewer shuttle missions if you do it in small pieces, or build larger pieces and more shuttle missions, but build more down on Earth type thing. So that was the project I was working on at the time. And then the Challenger incident occurred, and with that went our budgets as well. But it was really cool that it had an opportunity to, every time that there was a shuttle launch, I worked at the headquarters building and could just walk out and watch the shuttle launches. So those were very cool. And great people at NASA. They were just all super supportive, very, very, very much a community sort of environment. It was just a great working experience. When the budgets blew up, I ended up moving to DC to work on some Department of the Army projects. Same company. I'd moved up there with the same company. They were just opening up an office up there and working with as a subcontractor to TRW, and out of the Fairfax office. And I just ended up, I just didn't particularly care for the DC area. And it just was too hot, too humid. I mean, coming from Florida, a little bit of a surprise, but it just was, the winters were bad, the summers were bad, and you always had to be dressed up and all that, and that just wasn't my vibe. So I ended up getting with a small company that had a director of operations role open up in Colorado Springs. And so that was with a Department of the Air Force project out of Peterson Air Force Base, and ended up going out there. And that project was essentially, it was a very large project. And that was the initial upgrade for Cheyenne Mountain. So we were upgrading all of the project was upgrading all of the green screens that they had, where you watch the things that show the blips, and here are incoming aircraft, here are incoming, whatever, you do test with things. But primarily at that point, NORAD was primarily focused on drug trafficking type thing. Because, I mean, obviously nobody was invading the U.S., nobody was sending planes into the U.S. and things of that sort. But they tracked all of the flights and would match them up and make sure that they were good flights type thing, and not unexpected flights. And if they were unexpected flights, then they would, go ahead and handle that process. But but anyway, we turned it into, the project was to make that into a 3D modeled globe that they could spin with satellite communications and all that, of course. And but they could spin it then to kind of different areas around the world, and then track what was going on with that. So, and everything was in color, so things were color coded and much easier to identify when something was either unidentified or clearly identified as a commercial aircraft or something like that. So that was a cool project too. And then I ended up moving to Albuquerque to work on a project at Kirtland Air Force Base. Same company, but go down there and work on a project down there that was doing, I think at the time, Kirtland had the largest, I think it was, and somebody might correct it type thing if they come across this, but at the time, I think they had the largest pilot simulation capability in the country. And so pilots would go down there and they had all the, the 360 mock-ups and, with the actual fighter jet cockpits. And you would essentially go in, there's another simulator, and you would go in and then pick which flight you are of the formation that's going, and you would do maneuvers, and it would teach people how to fly, or at least, kind of preliminarily teach them how to fly and how to fly with the stick and, keep control of the aircraft. So at that point, this would be in the mid 90s, my father started having health issues with his heart, things like that. And so my folks were still living in Illinois at the time. And ended up I ended up leaving Department of Defense work and getting a job in the commercial industry. And I was always in IT, I should say. So it's not, that was my primary role was, I started off as a programmer and then worked my way to being in management. And that's what I ended up doing mostly in Chicago. And just became an independent contractor during the Y2K kind of non-debacle. But at the time, it was a hot topic, and was able to, get some really cool projects with that with some local companies. But those were, well, I shouldn't say cool projects. It was doing payroll upgrades and integrations. And we got Miss Freya sitting out there looking out the window. But I worked in Chicago for a number of years, and I worked downtown and worked at the Sears facility out in Hoffman Estates. And again, I think it was after 8 years of being there, I just, as I was snow blowing my driveway for the 80th time that winter, I realized that I hadn't seen any of the grass since, this is like in March, and I hadn't seen any of my grass since like the previous Thanksgiving type thing. So I contacted my folks and I just said, look, we got to move back south. This is not, 8 million people live here. I love the city of Chicago, great city. But I'm like, I just don't want to live. I don't want to live like this. And so it took a couple of years, but ended up finding a place down and found a good place for them. My father had Parkinson's by then. He'd gone through the heart surgery. Everything was great with that. But then he got diagnosed with Parkinson's. I've got him lined up with, I think it was Dr. Mellon at the time, who's probably dead by now, but he was a well-known Parkinson's researcher out of Northwestern University Hospital. And so I'd have my folks come up, every couple of months, every whatever type thing to meet with Dr. Mellon so Dad could get through some of his preliminary bits with his Parkinson's. And then when we moved down to Georgia, I wanted to do Georgia because at Emory University, they had another noted Parkinson research facility. And that's also where Michael J. Fox had gotten his deep brain stimulation surgery done. So I thought, okay, well, that's probably pretty good. So I was able to get my dad into that program. And I spent the next maybe 2 years, maybe it was 2 years of driving back and forth to Emory from LaGrange, Georgia, which is on the border of Alabama. I bet I took him up there 3 times a week, pre-op and then op and then post-op. He was, part of some studies that they were doing, so he wanted to be involved with that. And I was still working full time. I was working for a company out of Chicago, and but as a lot of familial duties are paramount. So that's what I did. And then I got a job offer for Alaska Airlines in Seattle, which kind of ironically, 20 years later, and decided to go ahead and take that. So I moved to Seattle from LaGrange, Georgia, and I tried to get my folks to move up there just so because I was being the primary caregiver for them type thing. And but the weather was just, every time they come visit, it was always raining. It was just always miserable outside, which while I was working, I didn't mind it because it meant I didn't want to go outside. And so I loved the Seattle area. It was just beautiful. I loved Alaska Airlines. And, great company. I had never heard of them before, but just an absolutely great company to work for. Loved flying with them, all that. But, prior to that, of course, since I was out of Atlanta, I'd been doing a lot of, most of my flights were with Delta. And I've always enjoyed Delta. I've never really had any, I can't say I've had any super bad experiences with them either. And, but anyway, Alaska Airlines was it was a great company and probably still is. And but in any case, I couldn't get them to move. So I ended up orchestrating it that I could work from home, which I think the first person in the IT group at Alaska Airlines that was working remotely. And I was working remotely, 3,000 miles away. So, but in any case, I was able to come back and, help support the folks and all that. And I just, at the time, Alaska didn't fly to Atlanta. And so it was a little more difficult for me to fly back and forth without it being like I was always going to be last on the list for the wait list and, all that sort of thing when you're trying to fly non-rev. And so we ended up decided to move to Texas. I'm originally from Oklahoma, Midwest City, Oklahoma, inside Oklahoma City. And my father was stationed at Tinker Air Force Base, and he went to the University of Oklahoma for his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. And but in any case, so that's why that's my brother and I were born there. And but then they subsequently moved over the years and eventually moved up to Western Illinois, and that's where my dad spent the rest of his career, up there. And but in any case, I just I told myself I couldn't do this anymore with living, kind of trying to fly from Atlanta. And so we were looking at Texas, and at the time, Alaska flew to Dallas, Austin, and Houston. And I couldn't get my mom to agree to Houston. Not that I really wanted to live in Houston, but I figured of the cities, we knew about Dallas because of living in Oklahoma, it was awful for, just going to be icy during the winter. It's like, it's not really, that wasn't my vibe either, type thing. And so, and my mom didn't want Houston because she was afraid of the hurricanes. I said, well, you don't wake up to it. I mean, they give you some notice, but that wasn't good enough. So we ended up in Austin, Texas, and I loved Austin. I lived there for a number of years. And so, and that's where they, kind of wrapped up their life cycles, and just ended up, when the pandemic set in, I had a business there that, with my friend here, Richard, we had a business there where I was a real estate broker for a number of years in Austin. And he was a property stager, master property stager. So he staged all of my listings that I had, and obviously other realtors and things of that sort that he worked with. But he'd kind of grown his business to all he could do on his own. And so we decided to go into business together, and I would help out with that process and kind of take over the business side of it while he still focused on the design aspect and working with the clients and all that. And we ended up having an 11,000 square foot warehouse, and we were renting furniture out to local stagers and interior designers. And that was doing all great until the pandemic set in, and all work stopped. Everything came to a complete halt. I ended up I was able to negotiate us out of our lease that we had for the warehouse space. We had to let everybody go, which, I mean, it was horrible, just absolutely horrible. Ended up getting, we were working with a professional rugby team there in Austin when they were there. They subsequently have left Austin to I think they moved to LA, or maybe that had been the Atlanta team. But in any case, I don't think the Austin team exists anymore, but I'm not certain. They might. Somebody from Austin can chime in here, but they just come into Austin, and Major League Rugby had just become a thing in the United States. And so we ended up connecting with them, becoming a sponsor of the team. And so we handled all of the players, coaches, and referees' apartments and homes that they had in the area, and took care of those for them. And then when the pandemic set in, everything stopped. So they stopped playing and all that sort of thing. And so that all kind of wrapped up. But in Atlanta, because I was just reaching out to a team in Atlanta, and things were still happening in Atlanta. So it was kind of shut down, but not nearly as shut down as Austin was. And that's, I totally agree with what was happening with things. But Atlanta seemed to have more business still kind of going. So we decided to just uproot and move the business to Atlanta. And since I already knew the Atlanta area, it wasn't new to me. So, hello, Rob. Sorry if I'm missing anybody, but in any case, we moved the business to Atlanta, and then connected. Richard didn't want to continue doing. Essentially, he would have had to start over again because he'd have to go back and start introducing himself to all the realtors and all the companies and kind of kicking the business off. So we decided to just focus primarily on rental. And so we rented furnishings to local property stagers and to interior designers, and we handled the rugby team there in Atlanta. We handled their apartments for their players and their referees and coaches and all that sort of thing. And then, things did not, kind of pan out over time. Most of the people that we were renting out, some of our largest clients that we were renting out to, decided to get out of staging and just focus more on their interior design work, which completely made sense. They were making more money on that side than they were on the staging side. And so our business just kind of dried up over time, and the team decided to, shut down, and the owner had passed away. And so they were kind of, everything was up in the air as to whether or not the team was still going to stay in Atlanta. And they've subsequently moved out to LA. So just decided to kind of sell everything off and close the business down. And, at that point, just kind of thinking like, what are we going to do, with lives, and just decided, what, this is a good time just to think about going to Europe. So we also looked at like Kuala Lumpur. I'm trying to think if there's any other places other than Europe. We looked at like Italy and Portugal and Spain, but they were all just kind of complicated on, at least from my perspective, complicated on trying to do the visas. And at that point, France was just kind of a lot easier. And I already spoke a bit of the language. It's not like I'm fluent. I don't pretend any of that. But ended up just focusing on France. Kuala Lumpur was very interesting because it was, very inexpensive. You could have a very good lifestyle. They had incredible medical, all that. But it just, when I was thinking about it, it's like, okay, yeah, they probably have some great food options. It's a huge city, lots of things to do, all that stuff. But it's like, I don't want to fly everywhere. I want to do trains, and that's just not feasible there. So there are trains that go to Bangkok, there are trains that go to Singapore, but that's not really kind of what I wanted to end up doing. So I really want to do more traveling around Europe. And hello, Lynette. Thank you for joining. And so we focused on France and got the visas, and voila, it was very quick. It was maybe 3 or 4 months, something like that, had everything kind of lined up, and just decided to make the move. And of course, I had years of stuff to pare down and all that, but with all the moves I've done over the years, it was pretty easy for me to do it. Richard had some more issues with things, but in any case, it's worked out great. So now we're here in Perpignan and going to be taking a trip to Lyon at the end of the month. And so there will be, I should still be back by Sunday. So I'll still do a Sunday, and I'll do a catch up at that point on how all that went. So let's see. So the great Zaza, when he says, wow, what a good son, really moving heaven and earth to get cutting edge care for your dad. Oh, thank you, Winnie. Yeah, no, that was my priority, was making sure that he got the care that he needed, type thing. And whatever we needed to do, we did, type thing. So the great Zaza, interesting. I used to do high-end custom residential and model home interior design. Thought about getting in the staging game, but never did. Bad timing with the real estate crash preventing. Oh, yeah, that certainly did put a dent in things. So let's see, Rose, we are MBA and PhD in French from Atlanta, South Carolina, coming soon. Also lived in Texas, all over. Is city center best in Perpignan? Also buy and sell antique and vintage jewelry. Your antique furniture rocks. Oh, okay. Well, I guess thank you. Let's see. Is city center best in Perpignan? It depends on what you want. I don't live in city center, but really most of my friends do live in city center. And it's certainly convenient to things, and to me, I would do a lot more at night if I was in cities, because that's where pretty much everything is handled. So a lot of the festivals and things of that sort are all there. So, certainly if you live in city center, it's all easy walking to get to whatever it is. So, and of course the buses can take you around and, get you out to wherever you need to go for shopping or things of that sort. So yeah, I certainly have nothing against city center, and I would likely end up, if I stay in Perpignan, I will likely end up in the city center area somewhere, just because it's convenient to everybody, and I don't have to rely on, walking 45 minutes to get home. So let's see, Gerard. Bonjour, Jeff, and beautiful people. If you can pronounce croissant correctly, you're already halfway there. Cheers. Well, I don't know if it's correct, but it's how I do it, and they seem to understand what I'm saying. So let's see. I'm going to scroll back a little bit here and see if there's anything I missed. Oh, Winnie's from Austin. Bonjour. Mike Abbott, yes, happy Bastille Day or Fête Nationale. But I don't know if they still. I never really heard the French people refer to it as Bastille Day now. Every once in a while, somebody might make a comment about it, but typically it's Fête Nationale. Let's see. Oh, Janet, are you doing anything special to celebrate La Fête Nationale? The quick answer is no. I have friends of mine that are city center, and they have some great. One of them has like a rooftop terrace, and another one has a nice terrace that faces out over the canal. And apparently they have a pretty good view of the fireworks, but apparently the fireworks aren't scheduled to go off until 11 o'clock. And one, well past my bedtime. And two, getting home at that point, I mean, it might be 12 or 12:30. I'm not going to be able to get an Uber or a taxi at that point. And I sure as don't want to walk, 45 minutes to get back home. Well, but maybe 30 minutes to get back home at 12:30 in the morning. So not that it's dangerous or anything of that sort. It's just not my thing. So to answer your question, no, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm sure that there are going to be fireworks that are somewhere nearby here. There's a big park that's nearby, so they'll probably be firing off some fireworks over there, and I'll likely be able to see those from the patio. So let's see. Deborah, how long did they have your passport? They had it for 1 week. I don't know if that's the same timing that they do now, or if that's changed since probably more people are now applying. But I went in for the interview for, well, they say interview, but it's not really an interview. They're just taking paperwork in that you provided online. And so they do the paper intake. They send it off. At that point, you get an email. You get email notices at that point. So they send an email saying, we've received your paperwork at the center. And I did the one in Atlanta. Then you get an email saying it's been shipped off to the embassy in Washington, D.C. There'll be an email that tells you it was received in Washington, D.C. And then maybe an email telling you it's been in process. And then an email telling you it's on your way back. And I mean, all of that happened within a week for me. So it was very quick. I did hear of people that would go in and not realize they had to turn in their passport. And they're like, well, I've got a trip coming up to this place. I need my passport. It's like, well, to get the visa, they have to have the passport to put the visa in your passport. So it's not something they send to you and you attach it yourself. So that just know that when you go in for the appointment, they take your passport. So, don't plan on any international trips while you're doing this process. So let's see. How long do you have a passport? Okay, Linda, can the documents be submitted in English or do they need to be translated to French? When you're doing the initial one from the US, it's all English. When you do the renewals is when you need to do the French translations for the thing. So, and they're not real clear on which documents need to be translated. So, but they're very, very, I mean, my experience was they were very kind about things. It wasn't like, oh, you didn't send this right document, so we're, declining your visa renewal, or, you'll have to start again. They just send you a note saying, and everything's snail mail. So they send you a note saying, hey, by the way, we need this in French, or by the way, we need this one in English. I thought they needed my birth certificate in French. So that's what I sent. But what they wanted is with French and English. And so, I messed up and they were totally cool with it. And, may have held it up by a couple of weeks just because it's snail mail. But other than that, it didn't stop the process. So but no, when you're doing it from the US, it's in English. When you do the renewal in France, is when there's going to be parts of it that need to be done in French. So, and I have a link in my description of my videos of a company that I use. I've been super happy with them. They seem to be, kind of average pricing for the process. And, but they get it back to you very, very quickly. And John, the fellow that I'd been communicating with, might be American. I don't know, but he speaks very good English and writes in very good English. So it was very easy to communicate with him. Let's see. Ty Cobb, in Nice, the holiday is rather solemn as a result of the 2016 terrorist incident. Oh, okay. Yeah, there might be some more things going on. I don't know that they do any parades here. I'll be finding out. But I was here last year for it, but probably was still trying to recover from being sick for a few weeks as soon as I arrived here. So let's see, Janet, did your long stay visa application account for earning income from YouTube? Oh, no. It certainly my initial one, I didn't even have a YouTube channel. I mean, I just started this 3 months ago, maybe a little over 3 months ago. So it's this is all brand new, and even for the renewal, I can't really claim what I have because it's so minuscule. It's not going to have any impact on whether or not I get approved. So maybe over time that changes, but right now it has no impact on whether or not I get the visa. Let's see, DK, what do I need if I want to visit for a few months? Well, DK, it depends. If you're coming from the US, you can come here with, I think you can come here without a visa. Well, I don't know. I'd have to check that, but I'm pretty sure you can come here without a visa for 90 days, just on your passport. If you want to stay longer than that, then you'll have to get a longer stay visa. I don't know that they offer a 6-month type visa, so it's usually, like the ones I looked at were a year-long visa. So it's if you come here for 90 days, then I think you just have to get out of the Shenzhen area for 90 days. So that's a matter of maybe going back out of the US, or you can go to the UK. People have been going to Albania, things like that. So there are various ways around it. But if you want to stay in the European area, but if it's just a matter of you want to come here for up to 3 months, I think you can do that just on a regular passport. But verify that, don't take mine with a grain of salt. Let's see, Deborah, how's the humidity in Perpignan? It's really not. And again, I'm coming from hot climates. So, I lived in Austin, which to me was like living in an oven. 9 months out of the year, it seemed like it was 100 plus degrees. But that was kind of relatively dry, but it depended if the air was kind of like here. If the air is flowing in off of the Mediterranean, it'll tend to be a little bit more humid here. If it's coming in from the mountains, then it tends to be a bit drier air. So I would say the humidity here is lower than other parts of the country, and this has been, I think, noted as either the driest or one of the driest regions. So that's not just about rainfall, but that's also humidity type thing. So we do have humid periods. It's not like it's no humidity ever, but for the most part, the humidity is relatively low. Maybe below 40%, something like that. Connie, hello, Jeff and all, and Ms. Freya, hello, Connie. The great Zaza. Let's see, Lisa, thumbs up, everyone. Yes. Oh, please click the like button if you can. That'd be awesome. Let's see. Okay, I think we're getting caught up here. Let's see. The great Zaza. Any plans to explore the area of Gras? I understand that that's where jasmine and other crops are grown for perfumery. Fascinating to me, and I haven't run across any expat exploring the area. The thing is that area, I'm sure it's beautiful type thing and all that. It's just not a draw to me. I don't, and plus they tend to be expensive. So I don't know. I don't know about Gras specifically, but I think I'm really more looking for a place that has maybe some better, and again, not to slam Perpignan's bus service and all that, but their bus service primarily, most of the lines, if not, well, most of the lines, the A line is the primary one. And that one I think runs until like around 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night. I don't live near an A line bus stop, so it's not that's not helpful to me. But like my bus line, I think the last one runs out here around 7:30 or something. So it's not great for trying to do something in town at night, which is kind of odd to me. I would think that they'd want people to come into town, but maybe a lot of people out here just have cars and it's not an issue, type thing. So, but in any case, I'm looking for a city that has maybe some more public transport options like trams or metro or something where I don't want to necessarily live in I'm not looking for nightlife. I'm not looking for, partying and all that. I know I may look like I do that, but that's not my vibe. So but I would like to have something that has access to the city. So if I'm meeting up with friends who happen to live in the city center, at least then I can meet up with people and do something and not be like, look at the time. I got to get to, I got to get to the bus. So anyway, that's why I'm looking for different areas. So I'm going to be going to Lyon at the end of the month. Probably do a day trip up to Dijon as well, just to check that out. And I think Dijon's a little bit bigger than Perpignan. I think Dijon's around 160, 170,000 people. And of course, Lyon's a big city, so that's not a big draw to me. It's not like I want to have 1 million people around, but I do like the idea that the trams run until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and again, not what I typically do, but it's better than 7 o'clock or 7:30. Let's see. Let's see. 1 Acre Farm. Hi, Jeff. Good to hear about Atlanta office for documents. Did you fly in and rent a car, and what was the drive? I know the Buckhead area is good, but for seniors, these appointments seem daunting. Oh, I lived in the Atlanta area. So I lived in Ackworth, which is a northern suburb. And so I made the appointment, just drove into town for it. And it's a different facility now than what it was when I did it. But the thing is, and I'm sure it's the same way with what it was before, you don't want to show up super early because the guards won't let you in up to the office and all that until you're I think within 10 or 15 minutes of the appointment. So I like to get places early because I want to make sure I'm there, I'm settled, I'm ready to go. And but downtown Atlanta, I did it midweek or something. I think I did it on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and it was easy to find parking, and it's expensive, but it was easy to find parking. Walk to the building. At least I found the office, found the guard, found all that stuff. And so I knew that I'd just go kill some time at a local cafe or something and just wait for my time to come. So in any case, Atlanta, it's not in the Buckhead. Well, I don't know where the new office is. The other one was downtown, and it really wasn't that bad of an area, but definitely older people would probably have a little bit more intimidation on trying to drive around and find a parking garage. But, I was able to find one and knock it out. But I think you can also do park and rides. I know there was a park and ride in Ackworth where you could park and take the bus into the city, but I don't know where the bus ended up. So I didn't know if it ended up at the, some downtown bus station, or if there's another kind of lot that you can hook up to, maybe take a cab to the building you want to go to. But I didn't find it all that bad, kind of midweek, during the day sort of thing. So let's see. Hello from New Hampshire, Judy. Hello. Let's see. Rose, loved your collab with Pusher Books. Thanks for sharing health info. Son who's coming to P for grad studies was born with heart defect. Cared for it. Oh, Emory's just fantastic facility. We and he have been penalized. That's not good. Well, thank you. No, I enjoyed the collab with Patricia. She's just a super nice woman. That very down to earth, very kind of matter of fact. But that's her business. So if anybody has any questions about what do I do, what maybe some questions, or kind of build up some courage for that, Patricia's a great resource for going to for that type of information. Let's see, Lynette, you are so helpful and informative, and for what we think. Oh, well, thank you, Lynette. That's very kind. Vous êtes très gentil. Let's see. We were wondering if it was difficult to find a good vet for Freya. I asked because we're planning to bring our 2 Belgian Malinois. Oh, wow, and a cat. Wow, you've got your hands full coming in. Find a good vet. No, I kind of lucked out, although he subsequently has left. But I lucked out that there was a vet pretty close to the apartment that I was in initially, and he's from Belgium, and he'd studied in the U.S. for a while, so he spoke very good English. But subsequently, he has left the area. So there's vets all over the place. So it's not like it's hard to find a vet. It's just that they, for the most part, are going to speak mostly French. But I'm going to try another vet that's out close to my house here, and just see what that is. But I'll give an update on that when I try that out. But so far, even trying to just get some basic French about je voudrais un rendezvous. I just want to make an appointment. So I would like an appointment, and then they'll kind of step you through it. So they speak a little bit of English, but it's not not everybody's going to. So. Let's see. Gerard, Jeff, did you take a trip to Toulouse? Yeah, I've been to Toulouse, well, maybe twice. And it's a nice city. It's just not. I just didn't feel that was kind of my vibe for where I wanted to be. So, but it was a nice city. Not knocking it. That just wasn't my thing. But I didn't do a whole lot of research into it. I really was more focused on a little bit more further north and east, just to make it easier for connections with like going to Italy or Germany, things like that. But Toulouse certainly is very connected, Let's see, Linda, have you been to Lyon before? Have you been to Lyon before? It's my favorite city and very convenient for train travel. That's exactly why I was interested in Lyon. I've never been, so seen lots of videos on it. They tend to be people that are just traveling. They're like, what to do, what 10 best things to do in Lyon. Here are the 5 bouchons or whatever that they go to type thing. But no, I was very, very interested in it because it looks like there's a lot of opportunity to explore the city and check things out. But again, and my channel is mostly just like, how do you live here, sort of thing. And so that's what I try to bring to people, not just, what's the best croissant or what's the best this or that type of thing. It's like, just maybe at some point I might do that just because I'm going to run out of ideas for things to do. But right now it's primarily just, here's a store that does this. Here's how you kind of do that. Going to the vet, looking at doctor's offices, things like that. So I just try to keep it so that people have things that they know what they're going to expect when they get here, type thing. So let's see. The Famlici channel. Montpellier is a nice tram. Yeah, Montpellier, actually, that's what kind of got me going about the trams, was that when I had my immigration appointment, when you get here, you have to validate your visa, and you do that all online. There's a little code that you scan in on your phone, and you can just do it all online. And then eventually in snail mail, you get a notice saying, your immigration meeting is on this date at this time. There's, unless you have something already scheduled, that's what it is. I think you probably can call and try to change it if you want to, but not recommended, because they I don't know how far that puts it out, type thing. But anyway, you'll get your notice about the immigration meeting here at the OFII, and the OFII office for Pyrenees Oriental, which is the region that I'm in, is in Montpellier. And so I took the train up to Montpellier and actually used the tram to get down closer to the OFII office and then walk the rest of the way. But the tram service, that just opened my eyes. I mean, it's busy, it's certainly busy, and it's free in Montpellier right now. And I think they just made it free in the last year or something like that. But but in any case, it just, they show up like every 5 minutes, and it just takes you all over. They have different lines, but it just takes you all over the place. And I just was absolutely fascinated by that. So yeah, that was one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to kind of look at other areas. And Montpellier was kind of interest, but I don't know. I'm not a beach person. I don't really care too much about being close to the Mediterranean. That's not important to me. But I just wanted to have more connectivity with, like, taking trains to Italy or taking trains to Germany or taking trains to Belgium or Netherlands or wherever, or Paris or wherever. And of course you can get there from Montpellier, you can get there from Narbonne, you can get there from Perpignan. It's a little more convenient from places like Lyon. So let's see. Understood about us. I watched Rick Steves last night on Lyon. It looks fantastic. I'm going to have to look at Rick Steves to see when a lot of his videos seem like they were done, 10 or 12 years ago. But, Lyon's been around for, probably 1,200 years. So probably hasn't changed that much since whenever he did it. So, well, hey, hello, Lady Hetfield. Hello. Let's see. Iko. Let's see, consider Toulon, perhaps. It's way cheaper than most of the Côte d'Azur. Great bus service. I'll look at that. Again, I'm not really, what concerns me more about some of those places like Montpellier and Marseille and Toulon and kind of moving your way along the coast is that it's very touristy during the summer. And I really don't, not that Lyon is not, and not that Dijon is not, but I'm really trying to find places that are not like hot spots for it type thing. Now Lyon's going to be a hot spot for it, and I know that, but I don't want to live in city center. So, there's probably an opportunity for me to not have to deal with it there. I don't know if I'd be able to get away from it necessarily in Toulon, but not that I'm against it. So, oh, Kelly in Virginia. Oh, okay. Originally from California. Well, I appreciate you dropping in again. Let's see. I don't. Winnie, unfortunately, our young grandson here in the States keeps us from considering a permanent move to France. We are now considering a second home for 3 months, escape from Austin heat every summer. Winnie, I tell you, that heat, that's a tough heat. That Austin gets hot. But Judy says, I love Bordeaux region for the vineyards, especially Haute-Medoc area. Yeah, I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure I've seen a lot of videos of the Bordeaux area in that. And I had initially kind of looked at the Bordeaux area, but it's also expensive. So, I got to kind of keep an eye on that too. So I'm not sure how you pronounce your name, but I'm in Patricia's Curd Catalyst coaching. Oh, okay, cool. No, she seems super nice and very, very sharp. Let's see, Lady Hetfield, are you learning French? I'm trying to learn German since mine are from Germany, and let's see, and I find German actually easier than friends years ago. Used to be fluent in Spanish. Yeah, I am learning French through Italki. Again, I've got a link in my description for that. I like it because it's you're on kind of you can be in a group as well, but you can also do one-on-one sessions with people, and it's talking to somebody who's a native speaker, and so it's an opportunity to kind of absorb what somebody is saying. So yes, I am, but not at the pace I want to, but it's at pace. Let's see, Gerard, Jeff, do you have access to US TV shows or news? Through internet streaming, yes. I don't really watch that many US TV shows, so I don't watch that many TV shows. I guess I spend most of my time, if I'm not doing something else, like meeting up with friends or doing something else here, I tend to probably watch a lot of YouTube videos, and so that's where I primarily do it. But I'll check CNN on online, or I'll check some of the other ABC News or NBC or whatever type thing. But I don't typically, excuse me, I don't typically watch TV. So let's see. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Jen, hi Jeff. Do you happen to know of an informational website that lists all types of French visas and the processes? There is a website that you go to for the French visas, and it will. I think it will help you identify which visa you would best be looking for. But also, if you reach out to the people at Fab Insurance, it's another company that I've got in my video descriptions. They're the ones I use. And I talked to Fabian, I think he's the owner of the group, but I think he does a free consultation, and then there's also some paid consultations you can do afterward type thing. But I think he does a free consultation to kind of help you identify what visa works best for you. I just can't talk to the other ones. I can just talk to long stay visa because that's what I did. But I'll in the link in the description of this video for the live session, I will try to put in. Well, I won't try. I will put it in. It may be a couple of days, but I'll get the link for the French website that you go to identify the various visas. And I think there's a visa wizard in it that just step you through some questions and then kind of help you figure out which one's the one you're looking for, I think. So we'll try it and see. Let's see here. Rose, heart defect son and weeping financially in the U.S. France doesn't blame the victim. Oh, yeah. Oh, merci, Rose. Merci. That, yeah, I tell you, with the way that they are going after, which we all knew was going to happen, but going after the Affordable Care Act, because I am also a cancer survivor, and I just can't get regular insurance without it being some astronomical amount, like $4,000 a month. for it, and then like a $20,000 deductible. And that's when I looked at it maybe 5 years ago. So I'm not even sure if I even qualify for anything now at this point. So, maybe if I stayed there once I hit 65, which is soon, but once I hit 65, maybe Medicare would cover a lot of it. But I'm like, I'm going to go bankrupt if anything happens. I don't want to deal with that. So anyway, here, obviously, as most of you know, if something happens, especially something catastrophic, but if you also get something that's a chronic or I'm not going to, the words escaping me now, but something's going to be with you for the rest of your life, which maybe that's just chronic. It will, you're covered. You're covered. So let's see. Have you had Basque food? My hometown of Bakersfield, California, has had a large Basque population and had Basque restaurants, some of the only in the USA. Yeah, Lady Hatfield. I've probably had a few dishes of it and some Catalan sausage and things like that. And it's good. It's good. I can't say that I've had a lot of it type thing. And there are a couple of places here in Perpignan in the city center, and probably a lot more that are outside the city center, but they have several places that serve. I don't know if it's necessarily fully Basque, but it's certainly Catalan. Let's see. If you're looking at places to live, check out Villebon, 20 miles east of Lyon. Less expensive, but still easy to get to the city center. Yeah, actually, that's funny you say that, Linda. I am going to actually be looking at Villebon while I'm there. So that is one of the ones that's recommended for expats that retirees, I think. So yeah, again, I don't care. I don't care if I live in the city center. I don't care if I'm walking distance to the city center. I don't care. I care that I'm close to a tram or a metro. Like that. Maybe a bus, but I'd rather be a tram or a metro stop. That's really what's more important to me. So, but yeah, funny you say that, because that is one of the places I'm going to be looking at. Patty, hello from Minnesota. Love your channel and I'm excited to watch your adventures. I plan to visit in the spring. Thanks for sharing. Oh, well, you're quite welcome, Patty. I'm glad people are finding them of value. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. My son in Austin lost a wonderful source of shade. A giant tree in his backyard was lost in recent storms. He said the sun. Oh, yeah. You've got to. I tell you, shade is a premium in Austin. No doubt about that. I had a house in Georgetown that had a bunch of oh gosh, what are they called? They're oak trees, but there's a particular type of oak tree that's like very protected there, very protected. And but they cast some really good shade. I just was very happy with that. But yeah, you're right. If you don't have any shade, you're up a creek. That California cousin, you mentioned meeting friends for lunch. Are the American residents easy to American expats, or is it easy to meet new friends? You know what? It's mostly going to be expats, to be honest. That initially, because there are groups here that they're on Facebook. There are Facebook groups. There's people you kind of meet over time, because everybody had friends that are just like, oh, well, you need to meet these folks, and you need to meet these folks, and so it just kind of builds out from there. Kind of like if you were in the States doing that. I've got a couple of French friends, but it's not the same connection yet as what I have with the expats, just because it's easier to speak the language, and and plus I'm somewhat restricted because I don't have a car, so it's just the way it is. So let's see. Merci beaucoup. Oh, Sue bonsoir from Albie. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Anna's got a little short this time, but it'll grow back, but thank you, Sue. That's very kind. Live Oak. That's what it is. Yes. Thank you. But lived in Marble Falls. Oh, that's a little bit of a haul, but yep. Let's see, Jonathan, did you find the Facebook expat groups helpful and reliable? We were planning our move, but looking for more resources. The Facebook expat groups here, at least, have been pretty good. They meet, I think it's once a month I think it's once a month, but it might be once every other month. But I think it's once a month. It's run by a couple who, I believe they're from New Zealand. And they have a winery here that they actually do their own label and all that sort of thing. But just a super nice couple, and they run the group. I think they might have somebody helping with it. but they try to pick places, around Perpignan, and once a month meet up. It tends to be more frequent non-summer, but that's probably just because of the heat. But I think they still meet up every few weeks type thing. So, and there's another group that meets every Saturday morning for coffee at Place de République, here at the, kind of an ancient square in the city center. So, and primarily English speakers, but there are some French people that join in as well. Let's see, Rose, what can we bring you from US you miss? Mexican food. That, it is, there's not really anything that I have to say that I really miss, from the US. I just get acclimated to what's available here, and just kind of make do. But I appreciate that, Rose. That's very kind. But no, I'm doing perfectly fine with what I find here. But it is, the one thing that was kind of a shock is there's a lot of places here that serve tacos. French tacos are not our tacos from the US type thing. And so the French tacos seem to be more of a burrito-ish galette sort of thing. So that was a bit of a change. When I saw tacos, I'm like, oh, I got to give those a try. Not the case. And pretty much if you go to the store, the only thing I found so far at the stores, if you can find them, is either they have Mission tortillas, usually in the small size, or Old El Paso, which is just like, okay, but so they obviously have something with a distributor that can get them those things. But I think that's what they consider to be Mexican food here. And, not so bueno. Let's see. Linda, Leon Devon tram runs often, takes 15 minutes, costs $2. I know. Yeah, Linda, no, it all sounded great, but there are a few neighborhoods I wanted to try out. So let's see. Hi, Jeff, Julia. Oh, Baguette Bound mentioned black beans and pepper jack cheese. Well, now that's you're right. That's something. Sherry, Google Chateau du Gardin is in the Pyrenees, purchased by an Australian couple who went to great lengths. Now UNESCO World Heritage Site. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll have to check that out sometime. Frank's aunt. Well, that's Mexican for you. So for once, not on top here. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know why. Well, it might be. I do know that I've gone to a and not that it's not, but a well-respected Indian restaurant, Indian / I think Pakistani restaurant here, La Punjab, and met some friends there, and I'm not a huge fan of that cuisine, but there's certainly things I can eat there, and so it's it wasn't a big deal. A lot of people wanted to go, so that's where we went. But the biggest complaint people had was they ordered like medium, I think medium and hot is what two people had asked for on a couple of the things they had ordered. And it essentially came in as a mild and a no heat type thing. And then come to find out from one of the people that used to be a cook there was that they do that for the French. And so now I don't, again, all hearsay, all alleged, all, take it with a grain of salt. But if you go someplace here and you really want something spicy, I think you have to do a little bit of convincing with the folks to say, look, I'm not looking for, like a little bit of heat or a little bit of thing. I think you gotta really convince them that you want it. So I know that when I lived in Seattle, I was working in Seattle, and a group of us from the office would always go to a place called Emerald Thai, which is a Thai restaurant, not surprisingly, south of the airport. And I loved the food there. But I remember, and we went there so often that we knew everybody, we knew all the servers, we knew the owners, we knew their family members and that. And they, and I remember every time I went, I'd have to look at the back to see the doors that have the glass in it type thing, above the top, when you kind of those doors you go in and out of the kitchen. And if I saw a little stocking cap walk past, it's like, okay, they've got mama in the kitchen, and mama's a little heavy-handed with the spices. So I'd say, okay, if you got mama back there, give me a 2, but if it's not mama, give me a 4, type thing. So here, I think you got to be able to tweak that out. So she was like, Susan, you're killing me about Mexican food. Now I'm gonna be dreaming 4 days. They do have a place here named Tic Tacos. Got to check that out. Cute name. It is cute, Sue, but I got to warn you, if it's a French taco, it's not. You're going to be disappointed. It's not the same as the tacos back in Texas. Let's see. Sherry, pre-revolutionary life. The website is amazing. People all over the world are allowed to volunteer to help restore it. Oh, that's cool. He says a place called Rasa Alchemy. Nice has a place called O Tacos. I think it says O Tacos. I'm told they're a little like Taco Bell Crunch Wrap. Well, you can always give it a try, I suppose, but it's kind of sad that we have to look at it as a Taco Bell. I will say that I tried KFC when I first came here, and I thought, well, I'll give this a go, just to see. It was close by. It was close by the apartment and all that. Super disappointed. It was awful, and all they had were essentially like chicken strips. There's nothing chicken on the bone. There was essentially it was just strips, chicken strips. And I don't know if it's always that case. Oh, trying to reconnect. Oh, oh my God, we're over an hour already. Okay. Well, guys, I appreciate that. No, but I was going to say KFC, I would stay away from. Not at all the same. Not that it's great in the US, but not at all the same. It's popular with the kids here. So let's just see if we can kind of wrap this up. Let's see. The great Zaza, I'm here in Tucson. You better believe I have gratitude and appreciation for the Mexican food. It is an absolute amazing cuisine. I love Mexican food. Spicy. And then Diane saying French folks don't like spicy food. Spices and sauces are very subtle and French. Yes, they are. Palate. They need. I guess you're right. And Ico, I heard Leon is expensive. We visited my husband's cousin there, but I don't have any idea about housing. Yeah, it does seem like it's expensive. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to find and look, I may not end up moving away from Perpignan, but I do want to look around, and it might be that I just end up, staying here too. So I'm not unhappy about that if that's the way it ends up. But in any case, it's just I do want to look around, and hopefully there's some areas of Lyon that aren't. Dijon looks like it'd be fairly affordable, and so that might be an opportunity too. So. Anyway, let's see. Well, I appreciate you all showing up. Hopefully it was at least somewhat interesting to listen to. And, y'all have a bon fete tomorrow. And let's see. Sue have a bon fete national tomorrow. Time to head to bed. Thank you so much, Sue, for joining in. I really do appreciate that. I'll try to hit one of your lives when you're on there too. And, Medusa, you're from Oklahoma City. Well, howdy. In most markets, you want to create salsas, you can. Yeah, you probably can. It's one of those things where it's just, that's a convenience we miss type thing. So anyway, y'all have a nice week. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll be back on next Sunday night, and we'll just see if we can, hit on something interesting for y'all. So anyway, looking forward to the chat. Au revoir.